After my mom married into a wealthy family, my cheap younger brother and a group of rich young masters formed a slut extermination squad. They tried to seduce me into cheating, then expose my true nature. She's not my sister at all. Don't be fooled by her innocent appearance. She's already been slept with countless times. She's cheap and naive, never seen the world. A few sweet words and she'd kneel down to be my dog. I curled my lips and arranged to meet the most gullible young master among them. Do you think I'm big? The handsome rich boy looked at me, his face flushing red. Big. I hugged him from behind, feigning melancholy. Since I was little, I've been looked down upon because my body is different. You're not like those bad people. You'll definitely protect me, right? He stammered in response. Okay, such a virgin, so easy to fool. The young master straightened his back and declared that he would become my fiancé. The group of young noblemen exploded in outrage. Isaac, are you out of your mind? How dare you betray us? We agreed I'd be the one to seduce. What are you doing climbing into bed? Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. I've been beautiful since childhood and excelled in my studies, so from kindergarten onwards, I've always been the center of attention. However, my mother often told me one thing: you should smile less. I asked my mother why. She said, a girl who smiles too much attracts cheap men. Whenever my beautiful mother accidentally smiles at a man, a swarm of them would cling to her like flies. Unlike my mother, I always wear a smile on my face. Anyone who has crossed me will face my relentless revenge behind their backs, later. My mom found my long-lost wealthy biological father and we moved in with him. There was also a stepbrother at home named Joseph. The moment we met, we knew we'd be sworn enemies. He mouthed at me, just wait, I'll show you who's boss. I smiled at him innocently. That night, Joseph barged into my room, holding a rat in his hand, and triumphantly threw it onto my bed. He tried to see me panic. Quick as lightning, I stuffed the dead rat into his pants. Then, wearing a small bathrobe and barefoot, I rushed into my parents' bedroom in a panic. I pinched my voice and screamed loudly. Joseph peeked at me while I was showering. Taboo relationships in wealthy families are a major offense. Seeing me crying pitifully, my father turned livid, grabbed a stick, and beat Joseph's buttocks until they were bruised. Next time you dare to treat your sister like that, get out of the house. After our parents left, Joseph's butt was swollen sky high. He glared at me and said fiercely, you just wait and see. He went to complain to his buddies. What good could possibly come from the mistress's daughter? I must drive that mother and daughter pair out of this house. Don't be fooled by that innocent appearance. She's been thoroughly used up long ago. She spends hundreds of thousands a year studying art. Who knows how she got that money? Joseph, as these words were spoken, his voice simultaneously played through my phone. On the very first day I came here, I planted eavesdropping software in Joseph's phone. Every scheme he plotted with his brothers was laid bare before me. Ken, I get it. The more innocent a woman appears, the more contrasting she is in private. Ken is a notorious playboy in the circle, handsome, wealthy, and constantly embroiled in scandals. He is a commitment phobe, wearing a ring on his left pinky finger year-round. At his suggestion, the group formed a bitch slayers squad and drafted a bitch slaying plan. Ken was the mastermind behind it. His self-proclaimed persona was that of a playboy who'd only settle down for me. He used to frequently play the role of a prodigal son returning to deceive women, a tactic that never failed. He was confident that his plan would absolutely not go wrong. Meanwhile, Ken's close friend Lance was a younger, pure-hearted man who fell in love with me at first sight. He would deliberately flirt with me while Ken was rising to power. Once I took the bait, my brother would bring people to catch me in the act. At that point, as long as Lance turned against me and accused me of two-timing, presenting the recorded evidence, he could completely ruin my reputation. They prided themselves as righteous arbiters of justice, swearing to help Joseph drive that scheming mother and daughter out of the house together. Ken spent a month chatting with me online, carefully figuring out my preferences. During our conversations, he often casually revealed his substantial family wealth. He also asked for my address and kept sending various luxury items. A sweet-talking, wealthy young man offering himself for free. Of course, I had no reason to refuse Ken, so easily impressed by some out-of-season bags, like they've never seen the world before. Joseph played wingman and took me to a party he hosted at his villa. A group of insiders were gleefully waiting for me to fall into their trap. This was an elaborately set hunting game designed specifically for me. The host in the center of the hall was wearing a clown mask. Suddenly, the villa plunged into darkness. Power outage. Feigning panic, I grabbed Joseph's hand, but I quickly realized this hand didn't belong to Joseph, because I felt something hard. It was the ring on the man's hand that pressed against me, and Joseph never liked wearing rings. The scent of an unfamiliar woody fragrance tickles my nose. It smells expensive. Meanwhile, the jester's voice echoes from the darkness. The loser of the king's game must kiss someone of the opposite sex for 1 minute. Whispers reach my ears. Wasn't the one who just lost Ken? Didn't he claim he never kisses women? I sensed the person beside me drawing closer and curved my lips into a faint smile. He's had countless girlfriends, yet still pretends he's never kissed a woman. What a hypocrite. I can't stand people who act even more pretentious than I do. Feigning panic. I noticed the person next to me lowering their head. I slightly tilted my head and leaned in closer. My lips met a warm, soft wetness. His kissing skills were terrible, his heart pounding like a drum. I frowned. Why was he so inexperienced? Couldn't even kiss properly. But soon, another hand was on my waist. The hand around the waist moved with practiced ease. Oops, kissed the wrong person. This is the right one, Ken. I bit the strange man's lower lip. He let out a muffled groan. I heard Ken clearly curse. Fuck. Then, he pulled me forcefully into his embrace. The light is on. Ken looked at the water stain on my lips with a gloomy expression, his eyes sweeping the surroundings coldly. The last suspicious gaze fell upon Lance, who had been keeping his head down. With an innocent and pure face, I stood still and blinked a couple of times. The new sister-in-law is quite beautiful, truly a perfect match of talent and beauty. Damn. This is true love. First time I've seen Ken kiss someone so hard their lips got swollen. Everyone around was smiling and playing along. Already irritated, Ken completely darkened his expression upon hearing these words, because it clearly wasn't him who had kissed someone just now. But soon, Ken switched back to a tender and affectionate expression, taking my hand and leading me to my seat. He intended to win me over tonight, so no matter how angry he was now, he had no choice but to endure it in frustration. There are two men here with the most outstanding looks. Sitting to my right is Ken and across from me is Lance. Visually, they both appear to be over 180 centimeters tall, and the person who just kissed me was about the same height. Lance's mission was to take advantage of the instability in my relationship with Ken and seduce me into cheating. As someone in the know about the plan, Ken now suspects he might intervene midway. So acting preemptively isn't unreasonable. Seeing Ken staring at him, Lance was somewhat puzzled. I sat beside Ken and smiled at Lance. He instinctively returned a bright smile to me. Ken flashed a hint of hostility in his eyes and tightened his grip on my hand. I glanced around. Aside from these two, there was another guy who was also very tall. He turned his back to us and walked toward the second floor. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and legs noticeably longer than theirs. His proportions were impeccable. Too bad, his face remained out of sight. Joseph let out a cold laugh and leaned in to whisper in my ear, "Stop staring, that's Isaac, someone you'll never have in this lifetime. If I didn't know Ken likes you, I wouldn't have brought you here. I really don't see what he sees in you." Joseph diligently plays the wingman for Ken using reverse psychology. The surrounding actors played along, teasing, "We've never seen Ken so into a woman before." The mood lights lit up. The noisy music appropriately transitioned into a love song for confession. Ken took off his pinky ring, a symbol of his anti-marriage stance, and placed it in my palm, his peach blossom eyes gazing at me tenderly. Another round of teasing cheers erupted from the sidelines. The peak of ambiguous tension is indeed more intoxicating than a straightforward confession. Perhaps any girl would blush and feel her heart race because of this series of actions. I sat there with a smile, accepting all the affection Ken showed without hesitation. Ken thought he had successfully conquered me. revealing a bored expression with indifference in his eyes. I observed his subtle expressions and appropriately showed a shy look. She tugged at his sleeve and reminded him, "That was my first kiss just now." Ken's smug face instantly darkened. He glared coldly at Lance, who had been smiling at me like a peacock, and curled his lips mockingly. I went to the restroom. The phone screen lit up. Ken. At Joseph, "Didn't you say your sister had many boyfriends? How come you just said this was her first kiss?" Joseph, "Just pretending, maybe like you, dating a bunch of girls but still claiming your first kiss is intact." Ken, "Bullshit, I really am, soon." That new message was Ken's to retract. After scanning through the group chat, I scrolled through my phone and found the conversation records from before coming to the villa. A kind-hearted person had anonymously sent me a message in advance. "Unknown contact, don't go, they've set a trap for you." I replied with some love-struck nonsense. "Ken is really good to me, he loves me a lot, actually. I didn't like him that much at first, but that was my first kiss just now. I think I'm falling for him. But his kissing skills are kinda bad. Hasn't he watched any tutorials in private?" Coming out of the restroom, a long-legged man in black casual wear, with an aloof face, was holding his phone and glaring at me with a sour expression. I noticed his lower lip was chapped, and I caught a whiff of that familiar woody fragrance. Take back Ken and Lance being the two most handsome men in the room. The person in front is even more beautiful. His phoenix eyes naturally exude a cold aura when expressionless, but now, tinged with annoyance, that chill is softened. Plus, his butt is perkier than Joseph's. Isaac seemed to find my gaze too intrusive, his lips pressed tightly together. I adjusted my facial expression, revealing the practiced, delicate look of concern I had rehearsed in the mirror countless times. "Your mouth seems injured." The chill in his eyes deepened. He gave me one long, penetrating look with those dark eyes before striding away. I saw him moving awkwardly, stumbling as he went down the steps. Joseph spotted us coming out together and sent a message in the group chat. "Joseph, yo, did she just try to hit on Isaac during a bathroom break? Don't even think about it, he's not into women." Lance, "He just kissed someone so fiercely earlier. Don't tell me you're reluctant to hand them over to me later." Ken, "Who cares about her? Just a gold digger. Do whatever you want. Make it quick. Don't be late, or she might actually fall for me. And you won't even get the scraps." Lance, so confident. "Huh, Ken, get lost. Go be the other man already. And don't forget to take photos for evidence." Ken excused himself under the pretense of making a phone call, deliberately leaving the stage empty for me and Lance. I walked onto the balcony to catch the breeze. Lance wore a white shirt that revealed his collarbones, exuding a vibrant, youthful energy as he leaned in close to me. "Sis, don't like Ken, okay? He's had so many exes, he's not a good guy at all." Lance and Ken both have very low moral standards and boundaries, stopping at nothing to achieve their goals. He leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "I don't mind if you like other men. As long as you're with me, the house and car will be yours." Then he casually took out a bracelet. I recognized it as the latest from Brand C, worth over $1 million, but unfortunately, it was a fake. Before I could refuse, the bracelet was already on my wrist. I have to say, Lance has a real talent for being the other woman. I thought it, and I said it out loud. Lance froze at the compliment. I took off the bracelet. "If you want to latch onto a sugar daddy, looks might help. But pretending to be rich and gifting knockoffs, that's just unnecessary." Lance flushed instantly when he realized I'd mistaken him for a gold-digging social climber. Clutching the scorned bracelet, he exploded. "I spent so much money on this, how could it possibly be fake?" The next moment, he watched helplessly as the purchasing agent blocked and deleted him. After staring blankly for 3 seconds, he turned his fury on me. "Even if I were to rely on a sugar daddy, I wouldn't choose you. I know you don't have any real money. All the family assets will eventually be under Joseph's name." I sat in the rocking chair, leisurely watching his performance, and when I heard that the family assets were all under Joseph, I curled my lips slightly. Lance looked at me defiantly. "Am I wrong?" I gently stroked his face. "Do you know why Joseph has never been favored at home all these years? Because his mother was the other woman. Back then, she came between my dad and my mom. So my mom took me and left. His eyes widened in shock. This was completely different from the information they had in their eyes. I had always been the daughter of the other woman. I spoke softly, but Joseph was innocent after all. So we didn't pursue it further. Back then, my parents were a famous campus couple at school, with plenty of photos together. A simple check would confirm it. Love cannot be mixed with impurities. Many men have confessed their feelings to me, but they were all too hypocritical and boring. But Ken is different. He's truly interesting, but after meeting him, I realized he wasn't what I imagined. It seems he didn't love me as much as I thought. Lance was overwhelmed by the flood of information. Standing frozen in place, I tapped the tip of his nose with my finger. Little brother, don't think about taking shortcuts. Focus on studying hard in college. I took off the narrow high heels that were hurting my feet, ignored him, and sat alone on the rocking chair. Melancholy, solitude. It's also the persona I love to portray. Lance is still young, with vibrant girls all around him. So dealing with this type of person can't be the same as acting like an innocent little girl in front of Ken. You must add some other colors to heighten his desire to explore. And once a person becomes curious about the opposite sex, then he's done for. Lance plopped down beside me, causing the rocking chair to sway a couple of times. His mission was to tempt me into cheating. Since his mission isn't accomplished yet, naturally he wouldn't just go back. I turned my head to look at him as a gust of wind blew by. His meticulously styled long hair happened to brush against his face. His eyes rolled playfully as he fully embraced the persona of a broke college student, then retorted, "Sis, studying art is expensive. Did you ever try taking shortcuts back then? After all, sis, you're so pretty, you must have had a lot of exes, right?" He asked 2 questions in a row, his tone laced with an acidity he didn't even realize was there. I let out a light chuckle. He exploded again. "What's so funny? I was just asking casually." I leisurely watched him. Lance uncomfortably averted his gaze, then realizing he seemed to be at a disadvantage, stubbornly looked at me again. I curved my eyes. "Taking shortcuts? Didn't you investigate properly before pursuing someone? The painting that sold for over $1 million at the auction was something I painted to pay for my tuition." Lance instinctively didn't believe it, because Joseph had said I was just a pretentious fraud. Upon hearing the name of the painting I mentioned, he exclaimed in disbelief, "Wasn't that painting done by some old man who died 3 years ago?" I curled my lips into a smile and looked at him with amusement, tapping his head lightly. "Fool, a randomly fabricated dead person's identity is just a gimmick. Why care so much? After all, paintings only become valuable after the artist dies. As for exes, with my looks, it's only natural I have many suitors. Don't you think I'm pretty enough?" I moved closer to him, studying my reflection in his pupils. Physical contact through body language can quickly bring people closer. Lance suddenly didn't dare to look at me. His Adam's apple moved slightly, and his eyes dodged. He gripped the bracelet in his hand tightly, his knuckles turning white. He truly believed the bracelet was genuine, but when buying it, he didn't put much thought into it and just casually got it from someone. I sighed, took the bracelet from his hand, and put it on my own. I appreciate the sentiment. Even if it was a replica bracelet, it emitted a faint, elusive glow in the darkness. Thus, it stood out all the more conspicuously on a hand that had clearly been meticulously cared for. Lance looked at me deeply, then suddenly said, "I'll give you a real one someday." I didn't take it seriously and lazily said, "No need. Just help me put on my shoes instead. I'm a bit tired today and don't feel like moving." Lance didn't hesitate to crouch down and took hold of my foot. Upon seeing the bloodstains from the blisters on my heel, he said displeased, "Why were such shoes? Your feet are already hurt." I casually replied, "Ken's ex-girlfriends all wore high heels, so I thought he'd like it." The hand that was putting on my shoe paused. Lance stood up and said stiffly, "If you're tired, don't walk. I'll carry you back." Afraid I might refuse, he added, "Don't worry, we'll take the side door. No one will notice. I know this place well." In his concern, he forgot the role he was playing, a poor college student, and accidentally revealed his familiarity with the mansion of a wealthy young master. I didn't expose his thoughts. Closing my eyes to rest, When he settled me into the lounge, a pair of soft slippers appeared on my feet. Lance had just asked the servant for them. Ken. Been gone so long and still not back. Where is he? Lance sent a photo of me asleep on the sofa. His photography skills are quite good. He made me look very attractive. Ken, wow, what a gold digger. Not even taking off $1 million bracelet while sleeping. You're really willing to splurge. I only spent $100,000 on an out-of-season bag. Lance didn't mention what just happened, only vaguely agreeing with Ken. Lance, according to the plan. You're supposed to start ignoring her in a few days, then let me take over, right, Ken? Yeah, don't interfere tomorrow. I'm going to her studio. Gonna have some fun with this little artist first. Lance anxiously pressed him about what he intended to do. But Ken deliberately kept it vague, only mocking, asking in such detail, "Have you been seduced and forgotten your own brother?" Lance immediately fell silent. Before figuring things out, he didn't dare to reveal his thoughts carelessly. I curled my lips, watching these people with their hidden agendas. Looks like I need to step it up. Ken didn't find out what happened between me and Lance that night. All he knows is that I became distant with him after I got back. The goodnight texts I used to reply to instantly now go unanswered. When I woke up in the morning, there were already over 20 messages on my phone. Ken originally planned to make me fall in love with him first, then make me sad by being cold to me. Finally, Lance would take advantage of the situation to seduce me into cheating. The current turn of events has unexpectedly turned him into a cuckolded clown. Naturally, he wasn't willing to accept this. When Ken found my studio, I was standing there arranging flowers, dressed in an elegant long gown. The glass greenhouse was bathed in perfect sunlight. His gaze lingered on me, a flicker of admiration flashing in his eyes. Without waiting for him to speak, I asked in confusion, "What brings you here? Are you planning to be today's life model?" Ken, his lazy peach blossom eyes paused for a moment before he retorted, "Life model." I pouted and gestured for him to look at the recruitment notice by the door. Looking to hire a male model, must have a good figure with 8-pack abs. He scoffed and stripped off his shirt completely. With me here, why look for anyone else? Seduction does require some capital. And being fair-skinned and rosy isn't bad. Ken, slightly uncomfortable, turned his head away. The woman before him was neatly dressed and engaged in proper business, while he was cool and exposed, adding a touch of shame to the scene. The glass greenhouse in the middle was open to the sky, with excellent lighting. Ken had a high level of acceptance and soon displayed his body without any shyness. "Jean, go ahead and paint." I frowned. "Don't you know the requirements for a model? You have to take off everything below too." His smile froze on his face, then turned into one of understanding. He thought I was just making excuses to seek thrills. After all, in his eyes, I was quite shameless. He carelessly took off his pants and tossed them onto the floor. Happy now. The flower room was so quiet that there was almost no sound. Ken struck a good-looking but strenuous pose, waiting for my next move. I chuckled without answering, my eyes fixed intently on the drawing board. After 3 hours had passed, Ken's smile gradually faded from his lips. No one has ever dared to leave him alone for so long. "Are you messing with him?" He approached and snatched my drawing board away, speaking harshly. "Did you really just come here to paint?" The moment he saw my drawing board, his accusatory voice faltered. The painting carried no hint of eroticism. The human figure was half-veiled and light as a gauze, surrounded by clusters of irises, lonely, melancholic, sacred. He gazed for a moment and spoke. "Is this how you see me?" I looked at his beautiful peach blossom eyes with a touch of pity. "You're special. Unlike any other guy I've known, though you navigate through the crowd with ease, there's always a sense of detachment about you. I've heard many people claim they're lonely, but I believe your loneliness is the truest kind. I know you've been disguising yourself all along." Finally, I returned the pinky ring to him. "Your soul is free. I won't bind you with marriage." Ken's gaze at me gradually changed. I looked softly into his eyes, then traced a German iris on his collarbone and gently kissed it. "This flower suits you well." He gave a very interesting reaction, not resisting, but rather letting himself be controlled. He let out a light, cat-like hum from his nose and made a gesture asking for a kiss. The atmosphere was right. but I had no intention of taking it further, so I stopped his wandering hands. My gaze gradually turned melancholic. If only he could be like you. This sentence instantly shattered the ambiguous bubble. Ken focused his gaze for a moment and asked, "Who?" The voice carried a hint of gritted teeth. He had already assumed the person I was referring to was Lance, hence his extreme reaction. I didn't answer directly, just lowered my eyes. "Ken, ever since I was little, I've always wished for a younger brother. But if I had known it would lead to this situation, I would rather not have been born into a wealthy family." Revealing one's painful past. Once you can make the other person empathize and feel pity, you can win their heart at the fastest speed. I smiled self-deprecatingly. Who would have thought that one day I'd be loved by my own younger brother? I touched the flower on his collarbone and sighed. Sometimes, I often think that perhaps it would be better for everyone if I were gone. Ken's tone carried a hint of doubt and disbelief. Being loved by your own younger brother, I nodded, frowning as I spoke about Joseph peeping at me while I bathed. I'm not afraid Ken will investigate the truth, because no matter how he investigates, it's all Joseph's fault. I adjusted my demeanor, ensuring my expression appeared melancholic yet pure, and said plaintively, "Thank goodness you're here now. I hope he can give up. If he must hate someone, let him hate me." He initially wanted to embrace me for comfort, but under the reminder of my gaze, he hastily picked up his clothes instead. One afternoon, we simply sat quietly and chatted. However, Ken probably didn't have a great afternoon. He must have been suppressing a fire with nowhere to vent it. Sometimes, what you can't have is the best. I glanced at his pants, then after stirring things up, I walked away without hesitation. "Joseph, how was the afternoon progress? Did the loading hook up?" Ken posted the nude portrait I drew for him in the group chat, deliberately making a show of it by tagging everyone. "Ken, does it look good? She said she's crazy about me." I stared coldly at these words. Bullshit, I never said that. 3 minutes later, Lance popped up and replied, "Oh, then I'll go see her tonight." Lance diligently plays the role of the other woman. As long as Ken dates me during the day, he'll inevitably find every opportunity to meet me at night. I also enjoy acting, because both of them are very good at pleasing people. I don't need to arrange the schedule, they'll manage it themselves. Lance pitifully grabbed my hand and gave me a gold bracelet. "Sis, I earned this by working 3 jobs. I showed a pained expression. "That must have been so hard. Ken, you really went all out to please her, getting her to wear that ugly gold bracelet on her hand." "Lance, gold-plated silver," she said. "Men over 25 are like 60. And they prefer someone young and energetic like me." Ken was seething with anger. The next day, he took me to the jewelry store and had Lance's bracelet melted on the spot. When he saw the bracelet was pure gold, his face darkened completely, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "This craftsmanship is too ugly. It doesn't suit you. I'll buy you a new one." I glanced at my phone and absent-mindedly replied with an "okay." On the screen was Lance's profile picture. I haven't hidden Lance's existence from him. I had already confessed to him that a younger guy was pursuing me recently, but I just felt a bit sorry for him. Ken glared at me coldly while I replied to messages, and that same day he lashed out at Lance in the group chat. "Ken, at Lance, are you in such a hurry to be the other woman even in broad daylight? Lance, isn't that your plan anyway? Why the rush? Lacking confidence in yourself, in front of Lance?" I revealed that I knew Ken didn't love me. I just compromised and held on to the hope that he would turn over a new leaf, so he thought he had a chance to move up. As for Ken, who never officially confirmed a relationship with me, he actually assumed the role of a boyfriend on his own. I showed him some of the chat records and whispered in his ear, "You're the only one I truly love. The day they'll ruin me is not far off. I need to settle my identity before that happens. The daughter of a mistress can't possibly marry into a wealthy family's noble son." So I spread the old scandals of the Jiang family. "Joseph, I must expose this bitch for two-timing. Kick her out of the house. Joseph, my mother was driven to death by that mistress. How dare this mother and daughter pair slander my mother like this? This is beyond intolerable. Joseph, how come after all this time you still haven't managed to capture a single compromising photo of her in bed?" At Ken, What's the use of you posting the nude sketches she drew for you? Post hers instead. Joseph's deceased mother is his taboo subject. The once noble lady of a wealthy family died alone in that pitch-black little room. After her death, there was no one left in the family to discipline Joseph. Now that he's grown so crooked, it's the result of deliberate indulgence. I'm not lying. It was her mother who interfered back then, but what her mother did was even worse. Back then, my mother was bullied at school, with malicious rumors spread about her. Indeed, my mother had a gentle and fragile nature, crushed by the gossip. She eventually left alone. From my father's perspective, the woman he loved ran away just before their engagement, and all those dirty deeds were buried beneath the calm surface by the high society marriage alliance. If only Joseph's mother hadn't brought this misfortune upon herself by deliberately revealing the matter to provoke his father during their argument, perhaps that man wouldn't have been desperately seeking others during their marriage. I said I wanted to live in a big house someday, and desired a lot of money, so my mother brought me back again, and Joseph, that fool, still hasn't come to terms with who he is. His mother merely used him as a stepping stone for her own advancement. Had there been even a shred of love, she wouldn't have left him without a safety net after her death. I sat on the balcony as another anonymous message buzzed through my phone. Stranger friend, don't go to see them tomorrow. I told you they're no good. At first, he would nag me every day, saying I should stay pure and love myself, not easily believe men's lies. I told him I wasn't actually dating anyone. I just lost my balance that day at the villa, accidentally kissed someone. And then my heart was stirred. After a moment of silence, he told me that none of this was my fault. It's only natural that so many people pursue me. I'm this good-looking after all. He exposed Lance's true identity and said Ken was also a bad seed. I replied to him, Father wants me to marry for alliance. It doesn't matter who I marry. After agreeing to meet Ken Lance in the evening, I sent an invitation to Isaac. How could we catch the cheating without the male lead? Isaac has the best physique. Only he is worthy to be the male lead in this drama. Isaac arrived half an hour early for the appointment. While I was 10 minutes late, he sat there waiting for me with the poised demeanor of a young master from a privileged family. His soft black hair looked fluffy under the light, giving off an obedient vibe. As someone groomed by a century-old aristocratic family, he carried an innate air of aloofness. No wonder she's the unattainable flower that all the young ladies in the circle are eager to pluck. He pressed his lips tightly together, feigning indifference. I set down my wine glass, seeing my cold expression. A hint of grievance flickered in his eyes. If you don't like me, you didn't have to ask me out. I rested my face in my hands, letting the young master ramble on for a while before finally interrupting. Everyone outside thinks we're a terrible match, so, young master, do you think you're worthy of me? Isaac was stunned. In his 18 years of life, no one had ever asked him if he was worthy of someone else. As someone at the top of the pyramid, he had always been the one in power, the one who screened others. He hesitated, not yet speaking. Taking advantage of my tipsiness, I pretended to lose my balance, twisting my foot and falling into his arms. A naive and unexpected kiss, tinged with the scent of alcohol. His beautiful phoenix eyes widened as he steadied my waist with his hand. Sorry. His blushing and flustered demeanor made him seem even more like a little prude. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Haven't we met somewhere before? Your scent feels very familiar. I sniffed at his neck. He had taken a bath before coming, and his whole body smelled sweet, without any trace of makeup or perfume. My phone screen lights up. Ken said boldly in the group chat that he had already won me over. Isaac looks at the monitoring page on my phone. After realizing I had known everything all along, his voice trembled as if deeply shaken. You knew all along. When facts don't prevail, let emotions take over everything. I didn't explain. Just looked at Isaac with red-rimmed eyes, pitifully vulnerable. Am I really that terrible? So nobody likes me? You also think I'm the kind of woman who would cheat, don't you? The group chat kept spewing foul language. Spreading rumors is always so effortless. He looked into my tear-filled eyes, his own brimming with pity, all traces of aloofness fading away. He reached out and wiped away my tears. I nuzzled his finger with my cheek. That was the first time I took the initiative to kiss someone. Will you be my fiancé? Then those people wouldn't dare to bully me anymore. Your lips are so nice to kiss. Can I have a few more? His hand froze in mid-air. You're drunk. I frowned and grabbed his hand. Do you think I'm big? He closed his eyes, not daring to speak. I staggered to my feet and hugged him from behind. His eyes flew open, pupils dilating and face flushing as he registered the unexpected contact. Ever since I was little, people looked down on me because my body was different. I whispered my story softly. I've known all along Isaac was investigating me. Everything he found was what I wanted him to see. An excessively beautiful single mother and daughter always attract all kinds of dark prying eyes. During my development years, I was nicknamed Cow because of my large breasts. My mother and I suffered the same kind of humiliation. They praised my beauty while secretly slandering me. So voluptuous, who knows how many hands have touched her, yet with just a slight use of my advantages, I made those fools who were confident of winning me over turn against each other. Isaac, after investigating so much, how could he not know I'm no saint, given his family background? Uncovering anything wouldn't be difficult for him, yet he still went to the appointment. He still felt pity for a bad woman. I looked at him. You're different from those bad people. You'll definitely protect me, right? The scales in his heart still tipped in my favor, and he replied, right. The moment you agreed to be my fiancé, everything fell into place. His skills were unpolished, but his willingness to serve made up for it. I stroked Isaac's head and praised him for being capable. I asked him about his hobbies. He looked at me for a long moment before muttering, just don't lie to me. I chuckled lightly and said, you're different from them. How could I possibly lie to you? Everything about me is a first-time experience for you, isn't it? Ken and Lance have already been invited to separate rooms by me, at the same time. I sent a voice message of me crying, come pick me up, okay? Isaac sat on the edge of the bed, frowning as he watched me act. I patted his head, darling, you'll get used to it. After all, you're the only one who's seen this side of me. Stay here quietly and don't let anyone find out. Sometimes, revealing one's own flaws can actually make people feel secure. His background is powerful enough that he wouldn't care about such tactics. He relaxed his furrowed brow and nodded with restraint. Joseph saw clearly Jean's newly sent hotel address, and his expression turned cold. The latest information he has uncovered is that his mother was actually the other woman. But how could someone from a wealthy family ever be in the wrong? So in the end, the fault could only lie with Jean's mother. She became the third party in everyone's eyes. No wonder no one in this family likes him. After learning the truth, he had no desire to meet that so-called sister. After muddling through the day in a daze, he suddenly remembered. Today was the day to seduce Jean into bed as part of the bitch elimination plan. Did anyone succeed? He sped up the car, but it was already too late. I watched Joseph's location on his phone, and as he was about to arrive, I casually tousled my hair and leisurely walked downstairs in a bathrobe. I wasn't worried Joseph wouldn't come. The information he found was what I intentionally leaked. Otherwise, with this guy's abilities, there's no way he could have found out. Joseph when appeared, I suddenly rushed over and hugged him. What are you doing? He instinctively recoiled. After seeing the tears falling from my eyes and the marks on my body, his expression froze. I didn't offer any explanation, just tugged at his sleeve. Let's go home. A disobedient, rebellious younger brother wants to do bad things, but has a soft heart. Since I can't strangle him, I'll just train him to be obedient and make him useful to me. I calmly glanced around. This hotel is under my name. Finally, it was Joseph who escorted me out of the hotel, and the waiter who received my message had already led Lance and Ken to witness this scene separately. After getting out of the car, I lowered my eyes and said thank you to Joseph with a pale face. He irritably ran his fingers through his hair, ignoring me. He grumbled, so annoying, and went straight upstairs. He didn't realize that his attitude toward me was gradually softening. The last one is almost conquered too. The show must go on. Ever since leaving the hotel, I've maintained my melancholic persona and haven't stepped out all day. Joseph knocked impatiently. Dinner's ready. I didn't respond. The door was flung open. Joseph barged in. After seeing I was fine, he broke down. Why didn't you answer? I thought you." His mother had died alone in her room, so now he was feeling a lingering fear. I watched him quietly. He kept complaining incessantly. "I thought you'd changed. Explain yourself. I don't have any improper thoughts about you at all. Besides, how could they even think you'd love me?" By the time he reached the last sentence, Joseph was practically gnashing his teeth. This was the first time he'd been subjected to such slander, and it was about having an affair with his own sister. The images and text went viral. Lance and Ken kept bombarding him with accusatory messages. No matter how much he explained, no one believed him. I flashed the green tea smile he detested the most and said sweetly, "Of course I love you, darling." Before he could retort, I pressed the remote power-off button. The door automatically closed, and the heavy curtains shut tight, not letting in a single ray of light from outside. Only the sound of rapid, heavy breathing remained in the room. Joseph had once witnessed his mother's death, leaving him with psychological trauma related to dark, enclosed spaces. The phone screen lit up, revealing a pair of eyes struggling to suppress fear in the dim light. The pitiful expression left no time for thought. Instinctively shrinking into my arms, "What's wrong with you?" Feigning confusion, I looked at the person rushing forward and patted his back reassuringly. The moment the lights turned on, my father stood outside the door, his face livid, and Joseph happened to be holding me. "What a terrible scene!" Father shouted angrily. "You bastard! Have you lost your mind? Daring to covet your own sister." When the Chin family first hinted at this to me, I didn't believe it. "Now because of you, our family is about to become the laughingstock of the circle." Joseph heard the news, his mind still foggy, when a slap sent his head jerking to the side. He looked like a startled young animal, vulnerable and bewildered, his eyes filled with confusion. Just as the black leather belt was about to descend, I stepped forward to block it. A glaring red mark was left on my arm. Joseph stood frozen in place. I gave Joseph a reassuring smile, my face pale as I spoke. "Dad, it's not his fault. I've already made up my mind about the arranged marriage." Joseph finally snapped out of it, stepping in front of me and shouting, "No way." Father glared at him angrily, while Joseph lifted his chin and retorted, "Your arranged marriage with Mom ended badly. Now you want to push your daughter to her death too." I stopped my furious father. He gave Joseph a warning look. Following my father into the study, I explained the hotel mix-up. After getting my clear answer, Father sighed in relief and patted my shoulder. "It's good you didn't act recklessly. Joseph is already hopelessly spoiled." I didn't wait for my father to continue speaking and hesitantly began, "But my background isn't honorable. Isaac may like me, but the James family might not agree to a marriage alliance with me. What if something unexpected happens?" Father remained silent, pondering for a moment before his voice turned cold and firm. "You're no illegitimate child. If it weren't for Joseph's mother's wrongdoing back then, I wouldn't have been separated from your mother for so long." He didn't hesitate to erase the identity that made my mother appear as the other woman in outsiders' eyes. But I didn't agree to change my surname and still followed my mother's surname. Saying, when leaving, my mother stood weakly outside the door in a white dress. She exchanged a glance with me and finally brought in some fruit. After my identity was back on track, it became natural for me to get involved in company affairs. Ken and Lance came forward simultaneously to explain. The hotel incident was just a misunderstanding. They were both present at the time. However, the plan to eliminate the bitch is still ongoing. Because no one called for a pause, the group chat was filled with nothing but harsh words. They couldn't let go of their pride and refused to admit their past actions were wrong. The marriage alliance with the James family is still under negotiation, so I continue to publicly declare myself single as usual. I don't plan to announce my relationship with Isaac so soon. His family is old aristocracy. Getting through their doors won't be easy. At the very least, I'm not even on his parents' list of qualified daughter-in-law candidates right now. Meanwhile, Ken keeps messaging me. He's been demanding to meet every single day lately. I turned off my phone in annoyance. Joseph sat on the sofa, sensing my displeasure, and glanced at me sensitively. He muttered, "If you don't like me being at home, I'll move out." I've been busy handling matters these days and truly forgot about him. I am the only one at home who cares about him. With the misunderstanding cleared up, Joseph has become much closer to me. I smiled and said, why would you think that? Of course. My home is your home. During these days, I've made quite a stir. When it comes to business competition, I even take a bite out of the James family. The first thing upon gaining power is to forget one's roots. I reflected on myself and realized I've indeed been laughing less lately. After all, now it's only others laughing around me, including those pot-bellied men in suits. The gazes that once scrutinized me have all vanished, leaving only flattery behind. I looked at Joseph and walked over to him. After our parents, you're the one sister loves most. What are you worried about? Joseph turned his head away. The bank card in his hand was now my supplementary card. Everything had been taken over by me from our father. Even if he wanted to jump, he couldn't make any waves. They never loved me. His eyes reddened as he stared at his phone, weighed down by heavy thoughts. Don't worry, as long as you don't make mistakes. I won't leave you, I said casually. Stop lying. There's not a single truthful word from your mouth. Joseph followed behind me, witnessing firsthand how I toyed with the opposing negotiator. He already knows my true nature now, but so what? I have no interest in deceiving people forever. Lying is exhausting. Joseph paused for a moment, made up his mind, and showed me the group chat on his phone. Before showing it to me, Joseph deleted many messages that were unfavorable to him. Glancing at me cautiously out of the corner of his eye, he said carefully, I was just immature back then. Are you angry? I remained expressionless, and he instantly grew nervous. I spoke lightly, you can redeem yourself. Now tell Lance. I'll meet with Ken at 3 tomorrow. Here's the studio key. Give it to him tonight, and I'll forgive you. Isaac, young master, must also be kept out of this matter. To avoid displeasing the James family, let's have Joseph take the blame for exposing the truth. Joseph hung his head guiltily without saying a word, but the surveillance footage showed he gave the key to Lance. Phone messages kept coming in. Ken searches for dull topics every day. After I agreed to meet him, he was overjoyed and immediately shared the news in the group chat. I freshened up a bit, then checked the studio's surveillance on my phone. Inside the studio, hidden cameras were everywhere. It was time to end this game. A little thief had sneaked in ahead of time. Ken changed into a pink shirt and styled his hair, making him look more radiant than the flowers. Upon seeing me, he took off his clothes without waiting for me to speak. I said, this time, let's paint inside. Ken seemed to have thought of something, as the smile on his face deepened. Following me into the studio doors were pushed open one by one. Watching the surveillance, I saw the little mouse scurrying around in a panic. I stopped at the last door without opening it, saying calmly, let's stay here. Upon seeing Ken's ornamental chest chain beautifully draped below his collarbone, I raised an eyebrow but remained silent, quietly continuing to paint.
James' family has yet to reveal any information. It's said his mother dislikes girls who are scheming or calculating. Thus, in the past, only well-educated and refined young ladies from respectable families could interact with him through the James family. Tonight, the usually proper young master came running to my house late at night. He seems to have had a bit to drink today. His slightly flushed face looks quite charming. He staggered out of the car, and the first thing he said upon seeing me was, you liar. You promised you wouldn't cheat. How could you? How could you seduce another? Lance went to see you again, I scoffed, my eyes turning cold as I retorted. Does this count as cheating? Your family doesn't even acknowledge our relationship, so what does this make us? Isaac sobered up. I gave him a cold glance. Admittedly, he is good-looking, has a decent temperament, and comes from a good family, but why should I be the one being chosen by him in the eyes of outsiders? The evening breeze carried a hint of chill, and he, dressed in thin clothes, looked somewhat pitiful. I left a coat for the heartbroken young master and turned to go home. Come back to me when you've thought it through. The heads of the James family are all picky and difficult people. I have no interest in groveling to please my future in-laws after gaining everything. If he truly likes me, then he should resolve all family matters himself before coming to find me. 4 months later, I received Isaac's message. My family has agreed. Isaac had grown slightly thinner. He had just gotten off the plane, his cool demeanor carrying a hint of youthful exuberance. He made a bet with his own mother for my sake, and clearly, he won. No one thought the James family would choose me. And now I've achieved the outcome I desired. With the support of the James family, I can only rise to greater heights. Under his expectant gaze, I made my promise. Our two families simultaneously announced the engagement date, in the first year of our engagement. Someone couldn't handle it and exposed some of my past romantic history. They bet I would fall for a new man and then dump Isaac. Others bet that Isaac would grow tired of me first. But what I excel at most is never letting those who hate me get their way. In the third year of my stable career, I accepted Isaac's marriage proposal. I gave him 3 years to understand my true nature. Since he didn't choose to run away, he was destined to be mine. Isaac's perspective, he knew Jean was a bad woman. But he still recklessly went to meet her. Before seeing her, he only intended to tell Jean the truth. But he never imagined things would end up that way. Jean had known everything all along, and those fools were being played by her in every possible way. Just like when they were in school, yet strangely, he didn't find her actions despicable. Jean had a peculiar, fascinating charm to him. After Jean left, he took a cold shower in the hotel, trying to clear his mind, because Jean's words. He didn't dare to fully believe them, but when he came out, he saw the letter at the door. On it was written in flamboyant handwriting, "A gift for you." Beneath the letter was a box containing an exquisitely beautiful tie, next to a huge bouquet of roses. Giving a tie makes sense, but what's the meaning behind giving flowers? Who gives flowers to a man, holding a huge bouquet? He seemed somewhat at a loss, noticing the upward curve of his lips and realizing Jean's scheming was also adorable. He frowned. He knew he was doomed, because he actually brought that ridiculously extravagant bouquet home. Jean draws very well. It would be even better if it weren't for men. He had already seen Jean's drawing for Ken. She never even drew for her. He felt both anger and resentment. Who knows if she might be seduced by someone? Ken actually went out of his way to buy a chest chain. Shameless, seducing his fiancé. He anxiously sent Jean messages all afternoon, knowing he was being annoying but unable to stop himself. But luckily, Jean kept replying to him. It was his first time being in love, so he was always insecure and overly concerned. He knew he was being annoying, but he couldn't help following Lance when he found out he had chased after her to her home. Those two men were too smooth with their sweet talk. What if she got deceived? Though it was concern, his words came out as accusations. She heard her own cold reply. She said they actually had no relationship now, so she doesn't need to take responsibility for him. For 18 years of his life, it was the first time he heard the sound of his own heart breaking. His family didn't agree with him being with Jean, but he was already trying his best to fight for it. He thought it was a mutual effort, so he cried. But then, he heard Jean speak gently. "It's a bit cold out, don't catch a chill." A coat was draped over his shoulders, and just like that, he was appeased again. He sniffed the coat, detecting a subtle woody fragrance with a hint of coolness. Just like Jean himself, realizing the foolish thing he had done, his face flushed with embarrassment. When he looked up, he saw the light on the second floor was still on. Jean smiling at him from the other side of the window. Jean was a clever and multifaceted person. She should have known that no one she wanted to get close to would dislike her, and that included his mother. He went to great lengths to make his family understand that his feelings for Jean were different and that she was the only one for him. Finally managing to get them to relent a little. Before the formal meeting, the younger members of the family all said she was too scheming and not suitable for him, because recently, she had competed with the James family in a bid and succeeded. His mother had always disliked overly clever people, so, when his mother proposed to meet Jean, he had already prepared himself mentally. In the office dominated by black, white, and gray tones, he watched Jean, dressed in a warm yellow dress, chatting happily with her mother. The white pearl on her earlobe shimmered brilliantly under the light, and he gazed at it absent-mindedly for a long time. When the engagement date was finally confirmed, he let out a sigh of relief. After stepping outside, he heard his mother say with a half-smile, "Still worried your mom would give her a hard time." He deliberately posted the marriage alliance news in the group chat with ulterior motives. "Isaac, are you out of your mind? How could you betray us? We agreed I'd be the one to seduce. What are you doing climbing into bed?" Ignoring the foul language in the group, he left immediately after sending the message. If this group of people dared to climb into bed and sow discord during the days he was with Jean, then he wasn't someone to be trifled with either. He sent warnings to each of their families and conveniently married off her troublesome younger brother for an alliance. This group of people finally settled down a bit. For 3 years, he kept his gaze fixed on Jean every single moment. But the outside voices still affected him somewhat. The more you care, the more easily you're influenced, yet Jean acted as if nothing was wrong, never listening to outside opinions. They all said Jean was cold-hearted and didn't have high hopes for this marriage. On the day the proposal succeeded, he even felt it was somewhat unreal, his whole body light as if treading on clouds. On the wedding day, he heard the woman in the wedding dress, resting her chin in her hand, say worriedly, "I'll leave the child rearing to you in the future. I don't seem to be very good at it." Sure enough, Jean does nothing that doesn't benefit herself. He knew Jean was pretending again. However, when a lengthy parenting manual was tossed in front of him, he still nodded reservedly. His mother had said childbirth was arduous, and he would be a qualified husband.